now. The water level at portions of the levee as it is at the top of the levee.
Okay, do you need volunteers at Meyer?
You are our eyes right now to what's happening out there, so give us a call and help not only us out, but everyone else who might be listening.
Is the Hannibal Bridge closed?
The news clip you just saw was the result of the Great Flood of the Mississippi River in 1993, one of the most costly tragedies in U.S. history. The flood resulted in over $20 billion in damage and over 50 deaths. A grand total of 9 states were affected during this flood, including Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Kansas, Nebraska, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. A man named James Scott lived in Quincy, Illinois at this time with his wife, Susie Scott. 2 years prior, he had been paroled from a 7-year prison sentence, but even with a lengthy criminal past, he was trying to rebuild his life and his tarnished reputation. He had a history of heavy alcohol use, drug use, and arson. In 1982, he was arrested at the age of 12 for burning down his elementary school in the middle of the night. The arson of a woman's garage and multiple other structures led to a 7-year sentence in 1988. And by the time James was 23, he had been to prison 6 times for various crimes. Jimmy worked at a local Burger King, but during the 1993 flood, he, along with many other volunteers, dedicated some of their time to maintaining the levee in Quincy. This was to prevent the floodwaters from overflowing into town. The night of July 16, 1993, the levee protecting Quincy, Illinois from the floodwaters broke. This resulted in over 4,000 acres of land being drowned. Remarkably, no one was killed, but many homes and family businesses were destroyed. A gas station was demolished by the floodwaters and resulted in a large fire in the town. News stations soon began to swarm the area, and WGEM-TV, the local news station in the area, was alerted by 2 state employees that the man who was the first on the scene was standing on a bridge nearby. This man was James Scott. He did a voluntary interview, but his body language and nervous responses led some people to have more questions than answers.
You weren't there at the levee when the break occurred?
No, everybody else left. You know, I decided I'd stick around to the next crew come. I guess National Guard or something coming at 8 o'clock during their 12-hour shifts. And I decided, you know, I'd walk some more, you know, check it out. And when I went back down that way, I seen a hole. I tried, you know, throwing sandbags, but it didn't work. And then, you know, it just...
I know, you tried really hard.
An Illinois police officer named Neil Baker happened to be watching the news at the time of this interview. He was immediately suspicious of James because of his criminal past. Surprisingly enough, Baker was the same officer that arrested him for the 1988 arson of multiple structures. He soon informed fellow officers that James was a potential suspect for the levee break, and on October 1st, 1993, James was arrested for a burglary, which was unrelated to the levee break. He was questioned about the incident and was given a 10-year sentence for the burglary charge. His answers during the questioning left many open ends. For one, James could not remember many details about the volunteering. He also seemed very clean and well-groomed for a person who had been volunteering at a raging river all day in a Midwestern summer. After this interview, the Illinois Police Department opened an investigation on the levee break. The investigation eventually led to Joe Flox, who was an old friend of James. Flox told police that James told him that he broke the levee on purpose to strand his wife in West Quincy, Missouri, so he could have an affair and party without his wife's knowledge. He claimed that he had seen a weak spot in the levee earlier in the day of the break and had reported it to an authority, but this concern was dismissed. Multiple other people also said James was boasting about breaking the levee at a party, and in November of 1994 the trial began. The main evidence the prosecution used was from a police questioning round where he admitted to removing 4 sandbags from the levee. After only 4 hours of deliberation, the jury found James guilty of intentionally causing a catastrophe. He was subsequently sentenced to a life in prison with a possibility of parole being set in July 2026. He's currently serving his sentence in Jefferson City Correctional Center in Missouri. There's a lot of discourse about this case online. People think this is just completely blown out of the water. A lot of people have no proof that James was actually guilty. There were no cameras out there and nobody actually saw him do it. So all of this is just purely circumstantial. There were 2 soil experts that came out and said that the levee was going to break regardless because the consistency at that point of the flood was basically pancake batter. And some people say that his sentencing was just way over the top. He got life in prison for intentionally causing catastrophe He was the first person in Mississippi to ever be charged with that. And there's just a lot of discourse about this online. A lot of people think this was some sort of government cover-up to have somebody take the fall for the flood. I honestly don't know what to think because the guy was a known criminal in the area. But let me know if you know anything in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.